They say knowledge is power, but in a collapsing world, gear is survival. And what if I told you that some of the most effective survival tools are quietly disappearing? Not banned outright, not talked about on the news, just vanishing. Welcome to the Forbidden Prepper List, the gear they're trying to erase, and why they don't want you to have it. It started subtly. Online listings removed. Search results buried. Forums where preppers used to trade knowledge, gone overnight. They called it policy updates. But anyone paying attention saw the pattern. The things that gave people independence were being erased one by one. The same governments that tell you to be prepared are the ones deciding what you were allowed to prepare with. Think about that. The first items that vanished were the ones that made off-grid living too easy. Compact solar generators, portable desalination kits, high-efficiency filtration systems capable of cleaning chemical runoff, gone. They didn't say it was illegal. They just made it harder to find, harder to buy, and nearly impossible to ship without special permits. But ask yourself, why? Why target tools that let families survive without the grid? Because control isn't about laws, it's about dependence. The more you rely on their systems, the easier you are to manage. Next came the communications gear. Handheld ham radios, encrypted walkie systems, mesh network repeaters. Slowly phased out, for security reasons. But in a real collapse, when the internet goes dark and cell towers go silent, those radios are your lifeline. They don't want decentralized communication because information, like freedom, spreads fastest when it's unregulated. A network of people who can talk without surveillance? That's not just dangerous to them, it's unthinkable. Then there's the gear that hits closer to home, self-defense tools. Certain tactical knives, high-strength batons, advanced crossbows, and even specific bullet-resistant materials quietly disappeared from catalogs. Some suppliers were pressured into voluntary compliance. Others just shut down. They called it safety. But the truth is, they don't fear criminals, they fear capable citizens, and here's where it gets darker. The erasure isn't only happening in stores, it's digital. Try searching for detailed prepper manuals now. Books that teach off-grid energy, chemical water purification, improvised medical care. Most of them are gone from mainstream platforms. Algorithms bury survival information under layers of irrelevant noise. Even basic first aid field manuals are being tagged as potentially sensitive. The information itself is becoming forbidden. If that sounds exaggerated, look at history. Every regime that wanted total control began by restricting tools and knowledge that made people self-sufficient. When you can grow your own food, purify your own water, and defend your own home, you're not dependent. And a population that doesn't depend on the system is a population they can fully control. The prepper blacklist isn't about safety, it's about dependency management. Now imagine a few years from now. A crisis hits, a grid failure, an economic crash, or worse. You reach for your emergency gear, but half the tools you once relied on are gone. No backup comms, no purification tablets, no proper medical kits. You'll remember this moment. You'll remember that it didn't happen overnight. It was erased piece by piece, right under everyone's nose. But here's the twist they didn't expect. Preppers adapt. When they banned knowledge, we memorized it. When they censored tools, we built our own. The spirit of self-reliance can't be deleted. It's encoded in us. And that's what they can't control. Still, there's one layer most people don't see. It's not just about deleting access. It's about rewriting reality. They're normalizing helplessness. Every TV ad, every public message tells you, don't worry, someone will take care of you. That message is poison. It kills initiative. It turns strong men and women into spectators of their own survival. But this goes deeper than censorship, much deeper. What they're erasing next could change everything. They've already taken the tools and now they're coming for the mindset. Because once you erase the idea of self-reliance, you don't need to ban anything else. People will ban it for you, out of fear, out of habit, out of comfort. That's how control works in the modern world. No force, no violence, just engineered compliance. That's why schools no longer teach practical skills. That's why mainstream media mocks preppers as paranoid. They want you to believe that being prepared is strange, that it's something to be ashamed of. But every person who laughs at preppers during calm times will be the first one begging for help when chaos begins. Now let's talk about the next phase, digital dependency. The next forbidden gear might not be physical at all. It's digital tools that allow independence, offline maps, encrypted messaging apps, self-contained data drives, even code libraries for 3D printing replacement parts. These are being flagged as potentially risky. Governments and corporations fear decentralized technology because it breaks their monopoly on control. Imagine a future where even storing offline information becomes suspicious behavior. That's where we're heading. They don't need to ban preppers by law. They just need to make prepping seem unnecessary, and then quietly remove your options until you're left with nothing but dependency. A silent kind of control, the kind you don't notice until it's too late. But here's what they underestimated: the resilience of the human spirit. You can delete websites, remove listings, censor forums, but you can't stop people from remembering. Knowledge, once learned, is unstoppable. So if you're watching this, you have two missions. First, preserve the tools that remain. Stock the essentials now: filters, generators, radios, medical gear. Second, preserve the knowledge. Print the manuals, copy the guides, teach your children, because one day your memory might be the last library left. When the system collapses, the people who memorize survival won't just survive, they'll rebuild. And that's why this list exists, not as a warning, but as a call to action. Let's talk specifics. There are a few items that always make it to the top of the forbidden list, gear that gives you real independence. The first is water purification. High-capacity gravity filters, distillers, and iodine substitutes are getting harder to find. Without clean water, the strongest prepper falls in days. If you can still get them, do it now. Next, alternative power. Solar generators are being reclassified under new trade restrictions. Some models are disappearing completely. Even lithium battery exports are tightening. The excuse? Environmental regulation. The truth? They don't want independent energy. If you can power your tools, your lights, your communications, they lose control. Then, communications. Stock shortwave radios, satellite messengers, or even analog gear. It's slow, outdated, but untraceable. In the first 72 hours of a crisis, those who can talk will control information, and those who control information will control survival. And don't forget analog maps, the real ones, with topography. Because when GPS goes down, and it will, digital maps die with it. A single paper map might become worth more than gold. The same goes for seeds, non-GMO, non-hybrid, heirloom seeds. They're quietly being restricted by corporate patent laws. It's not about crops, it's about control of food. Whoever controls seeds controls life itself. And maybe the most forbidden of all, knowledge of medical improvisation, field medicine, herbal remedies, pressure dressings, sutures. Skills that used to be common are now disappearing behind medical certification walls. But in collapse scenarios, you are the first responder. If you can treat burns, infections, or trauma without a hospital, you become invaluable. Each of these items, water, power, communication, food, medicine, they're not just supplies. They're fragments of independence, and together they make you dangerous to anyone who thrives on control. That's why they want them gone. So what can you do? Build redundancy. Hide copies of your data. Learn old methods. Make friends who share the same mindset. Because prepping alone is survival. Prepping together is resistance. When you hear someone call preppers paranoid, remember this. Every generation that faced collapse had people who saw it coming, and people who mocked them until it was too late. Don't be the latter. Be the one who remembers. Be the one who acts. Because one day soon, when the lights go out, when the system fails and panic takes over the cities, those who prepared will become the backbone of what comes next. The world will look to you. Not to the politicians, not to the media, not to the corporations, but to you, the one who refused to forget. They may try to erase the tools, they may try to bury the knowledge, but they can't erase the will to survive. That instinct is older than any government, any empire, any system. It's written in blood, in history, in our DNA. This is the Forbidden Prepper List. A reminder that the fight for independence doesn't start when the grid fails. It starts now, when you choose to learn, when you choose to prepare, when you refuse to depend. Keep the list alive. Keep the knowledge alive. Because one day, everything else might be gone.